Everything happens so much, not for me, but in the world in general. And if you are in a place where it feels like there's too much information, then it can be difficult to say something clear. It somehow became my approach in my practice, because for me, it is somehow how I digest the world as being extremely overwhelming. I want the art to go like into real life. I was studying music management at the music conservatorium here in Copenhagen before I started studying visual arts. But when I applied for the art academy and I got in, it was first there I started thinking of myself as an artist and of what I was doing as art. But after that, it's been like pretty simple. I do art. I think I was super young when I started, so it was a feeling when I was at my school, it felt like everything was trying to have a control over me. And I was starting playing theater, and then I met some people and got into this movement of people who was squatting houses around in the city. And I remember being part of this situation, going into empty houses, sleeping there, making concerts there. For the first time in my life, I felt that it was possible to actually do something, have an impact, change the world. It sounds so big. I don't mean it that big. I mean it really specifically in that situation, that you could transform a space. You could do a concert there, and then the whole vibe will change. And there was something really inspiring by that, because I felt less passive. That energy of allowing yourself to think that social situations could be different. And to see that also all these norms that are already connected to specific spaces, you move in a specific way in a specific kind of architecture, like a bank is one thing, a church will be another. And some of these houses, they already had a history. Once we were going into this Cold War bunker, and we were sleeping there, and then created concerts down there. Even though it was created for a war that never happened, then now we transformed it in the function of the architecture into something else. And that really inspired me in relation to not only seeing the world for what it is, but also what it could be. So also understanding images and symbols differently. Since I was a child, I've always been extremely fascinated by pop, by anything that glitters. I had this desire towards pop that in a long time I didn't really allow it to exist in me, because it was something else. For me, it couldn't really coexist with what I was doing when I was more doing activism and I was listening to punk. But when I kind of started doing art, I let these two worlds coexist. It was both the punk, the desire for anarchism, but also meeting the desire for pop. And I think I took that from activism and from the movements I was part of there and let it exist in this world that I created, which is mostly dealing with the aesthetics of pop culture. I remember being a teen in my room and having my first laptop, making a Tumblr, and just finding all these images, having this extreme complex nostalgia for a lot of different periods of times that have nothing to do with each other and that I had no relation to, but it was just a nostalgic feeling that was real. So I think I'm trying to both archive in a way, taking these objects that are almost disappearing, these big trends that died, that people don't know anymore. They become some kind of uncanny. For people who lived exactly those years will know them, and other people will just be like, what is this? That creates like an openness in the image and in the symbol that I use a lot. I mean, of course, there is the personal relation, like a nostalgia for a situation that you have experienced. But in collective memory, nostalgia is more an aesthetic. I mean, Instagram, the world's most powerful social media, was created with all these filters, so you could make these digital images look old. So, I mean, I guess there is this drive, this nostalgic drive in the world we live in that is so constant. I want to create like a complex image. And sometimes, for example, in my exhibition, Hardcore Freedom, I created something that looks like almost a flagship store, like, you know, something that looks like suggesting a very commercial architecture and a mirror floor and a big neon sign, like almost these like camp references to something that we know so well. But then in this set, a performance that is 3 hours long almost, is almost falling apart. It's like this kind of desperation, this image that can't really happen because the choreography don't allow it to exist because it's too hardcore and you get tired. And this set, the whole stage, will be more and more trashed over that period of time. So if you are visiting the exhibition the first day, it will look completely sleek. And then in the end, it will have a completely other, much more melancholic feeling because the material and the surfaces are trashed. And I guess that creates a melancholy, like something happened that are not happening anymore. I was DJing a lot when I was younger. I got asked to do some music for fashion shows in Paris, and I remember sitting there. There was so much waiting time. And I started fantasizing about if this, I don't know, situation, if something else happened, if the reflector boards reflecting the light were mutating into meat-eating flowers that was almost eating the perfect image that it was trying to create. If the models were rolling down, making out, if they started dancing, if the whole situation were falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, right now we are in the Oscar Niemeyer building, which is the communist headquarters in Paris for the Communist Party. And I'm exhibiting here together with a bunch of other artists, curated by Kaleidoscope magazine. And I'm showing one of my inflatable flowers from Hyber, which is these like meat-eating silver flowers made in the same material from reflector boards from photo shoot. I'm super inspired by Oscar Niemeyer. I really love this building. I'm working a lot with, inspiration from brutalist architecture and brutal architecture. At the moment, I made a work called Gravity. It looks like also a bit of a diamond if you look up like how it's mirrored in the water. It's lying in front of Eskov Castle. It's like a young person like kind of surfing on a UFO. It's inspired by the Silver Surfer, which is this cartoony character from the beginning of the 60s. Again, my sculpture is like difficult to read if he's trying to hold the balance, if he's like leaving, or if he just landed, or if he's like trying to jump off the UFO.
These works, they are not trying to be like a clear message or an answer on anything, but they're just like trying to explain how things could also be viewed. And for example, to deal with consumerism and mass mediation is very complex. And I think what I'm trying to do is yeah, to make works that are dealing with these big topics, being in it without being super busy to try to say something specific or critical about it. It's more about being in the reflection somehow. I think I'm referencing a lot of different works. Like normally that's how I work. And I feel growing up in the 90s, I don't know, pop art of course, like it's just becoming like bigger and bigger and was like accelerating so much. And again was something extremely conflicted in me, both being drawn by it but also being annoyed by it somehow. In the beginning, I think there was some energy in me trying to reproduce some of these aesthetics. I made this work called The Poodle's Call for the Surrealism exhibition, and it was directly referencing the Jeff Koons, the pink balloon dog. But it was the poodle sitting facing these surrealist paintings called The Poodle's Call, and There Is Something Wrong in Hollywood. The title, The Poodle's Call, is also from Faust, where the poodle's call is the devil, like the devil is the poodle. There was something with this like pop work that we all know that again has been reproduced so many times that it became its own aesthetics. It's also been appropriating again into fashion world so many times in all these small windows that again it also became a more universal language that was not connected to a specific artist. I've been like traveling a lot the last 2 years since I graduated art school. So when I'm in Copenhagen, I'm mostly here and also working from my home. Right now I most use it as a place where I read and work, but most on my computer. And then sometimes stashing things and shipping them out somewhere. I'm always collecting. I have this like really specific idea of what is a good object. I found in this like porcelain figure the other day in Sweden in this antique store, and I just knew directly that I should buy it. It was like a hunter, but you could just see that this person is not a hunter. He looks like a Prada model or something like that. I like that when it becomes both ordinary but also weird, like when you look at it and you try to understand what is this actually. What is it in its own core? This is my old light table where you can put photographs on, like this for example, from the performances. You know, you can see through it. You can put images on top of each other and I can do these line drawings. These are just sketches, but it's the way I take the photo and like make these simple line drawing. Some of them I never use and some of them will be stained glass work one day, but it's like ongoing. I think it's a way for me also to process the images that my works already create. Some of the concrete test, because we're building all these monuments over the summer, so we're trying to figure out how to create concrete that look old. So it's patinated. It's gonna look extremely heavy and old, but it's not. It's completely new. It's just a surface. I mean, it's also about nostalgia to make something look fake old. It's a obsession with authenticity, right? Something that has a story. Then it's starting fucking up with your idea of time and originality and authenticity. I like that. This is the cover I made for Courtesy, like a DJ and producer, and I made like the cover for the record and a performance that we showed at Berghain in Berlin. And the cover you have like posters from the performance. I really enjoy also working in and out of the art institutions. It keeps me alive to work also in other spaces than the white cube. It's like more real for me like that. I want the art to go like into real life and be pop culture in its own right, like go into the shopping mall, into the nightclub. I don't want to just like talk about pop culture. I want to be part of it somehow. And I feel I can do that when I'm working also inside of other people's projects. It feels like the white cube is like something you can tap into and is only existing inside of the white cube, and then when you go out, and then you go out back to the real world. For me, what's going on inside of the white cube is as real as what's going on in the supermarket. And I want these two places to meet.